Does that mean like one's ability, and I guess I'm looking at intelligence here, is one's
Yep.
ability to use their brain uh,
Mm-hmm.
trained at a young age? Does that mean intelligence is something that is like
Yep.
trained, or is it something you're given?
Well, 50% of it is genetic. So you just, got a genetic inheritance. So it
Sure.
does
Okay.
matter whether, and that's just, and even if your father's Einstein, doesn't mean your genetic inheritance was necessarily positive. If Einstein's carrying the genes of hundreds of, thousands of ancestors, there would have been thick people amongst them as well. Einstein could still pass forward thick genes, if you
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not just as simple as, but yeah, so 50% of it's going to be your genetic inheritance. And then a lot of it's about what happens in that first year of life, actually, if we look at the longitudinal studies and the research, that basically the more words that are spoken to you by your primary caregiver in the first year of life correlates with the more income and higher qualifications at age 32. So your cognitive structures in your brain, remember the human brain's designed to be molded by the environment it encounters. Language and interaction is the most complex thing your brain does. So the baby in the first year of life who's hearing, because we know we speak more to firstborns than we do to the rest of the kids, because it's the only time we only had one kid. So on average, you speak 20,000 words a day to the first child, but on average, you speak 15,000 words a day to the second child. So the first child is getting 5,000 more words, 5,000, getting more complexity. Their world is a quarter more complex again. And language is the major driver of your brain or cognitive structures. So that makes, what I'm saying simply is that firstborn often gets a flash of brain because they were hearing 20,000 words a day instead of 15. So the data is telling them in that first year of life. But then your intelligence is a multifaceted thing. It's not just down to how brainy you are and things like your working memory. It's down to your dispositions as well. If you have a belief that you're stupid, you'll give up really quickly. So confidence is a huge part of intelligence. I always did well at school, so I have confidence about that stuff. But a lot of my friends didn't do well at school. I noticed once when we were four of us, we all got 4 copies of the instructions to read the instructions. And as I read them, I sort of thought, what idiot wrote these because they make absolutely no sense. And then I worked out, they're written in another language and they've been translated. And you've got to sort of read it like an English as a second language person to try and understand these instructions. What was interesting was all 3 of my friends who had a negative experience at school got a couple of sentences in and basically in varying forms went, I'm not clever enough to understand this, and gave up. And yet all 3 of them are incredibly clever people. But their disposition, what school has taught them, is that they're not clever. So that belief comes through all the time. So as well as that first initial sort of hardwiring of intelligence, you need to have a positive disposition towards learning. And that's developed between 2 and 7. And it's developed the best, very clearly, in a free play, child-led environment.
Right.
Where teachers don't take charge of the curriculum, children are entirely in charge of their play. Teachers are there. It's not free range where there's no teachers. It's free play. Teachers are there to enhance and extend and all of that, and grab onto all those teachable moments. But the children remain in charge of the curriculum. That's where you will get a positive disposition towards learning. The kid that's allowed to decide to build the dam in the river, even though all the adults know we don't need that dam, it has no purpose, there's no outcome. From our point of view, it's a waste of time. But the kid's allowed to do that at 6. And he's developing those dispositions of failing 90 times and then succeeding, of focusing his attention for 3 hours, of needing to call on his mates and try and get them intrigued and involved because he needs some help on the other side of the dam. Like all of the dispositions that he's learning, those are setting him up to be intelligent. So the most intelligent child won't just be the one that in the first year of life where you have a parent at home focused on being in relationship most of the time. That would be the best foundation. But then also a child that attends child-led free play curriculum up to the age of 7, I think will be the most resilient.
Do you think kids should be in school at the age of 5 then?
I think it's rather arbitrary what age they should be at school. It's what are they doing at the school.
Right.
Because the high quality schools that I work with, a lot of kids are in school actually by the time they're 2 now. More children are in out of home care before their first birthday than are at home, right? So most children are already at school before they're 1. And then not all of them are full time. But what I'm saying is if we talk about when the kids start school, that's from the old days when they used to go to kindy for only 2 hours a day, and then school was 6 hours. Most of the country's 3-year-olds are in for 6 hours a day now. So kids have already started school when they're at the early childhood centre. It's what are they doing at school? And the research tells us what they should be doing is following New Zealand's early childhood curriculum until the age of 7. New Zealand has arguably, I suppose, but widely considered the best early childhood curriculum in the world, Te Whāriki. So we don't have to start inventing what we should be doing. We already know what we should be doing. We should be implementing Te Whāriki until the child's 7, and between 7 and 8, you're transitioning to a more traditional concept of what people think a school curriculum is, literacy and numeracy and what I would call frontal cortex functions, brain number 4. But from 2 to 7, you should be focusing on brain number 3, the social, emotional, limbic structures in the brain that are the actual foundation to brain number 4. The simplest way I can say it is you can have Albert Einstein's intelligence waiting for you in the frontal cortex, but if your limbic emotional brain has already decided you're stupid, you will never access his intelligence because you believe you're stupid. So belief is just as important as intelligence. It's just as important as cognitive ability when you're talking about overall intelligence.
Thank you for watching that clip. If you enjoyed it, make sure you hit that subscribe button on the left. And if you want to watch the full episode, hit the square on the bottom. To watch another small clip, go ahead and hit that square on top. And if you just want to listen to the full episode but don't have time to watch it, you can find this podcast wherever podcasts are listened to. Thanks. Bye.